Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the main man, Martin, for your fans forum. As we all know, Tuesday night is fans forum night, and we've already got people in the chat. We're going to be talking transfer rumours. The rumour mill is well and truly spinning. We're going to be talking a little bit of international football as well. Who is on that plane? Are Ollie and Konsa going to be on that plane? And we're going to be talking season tickets and just a general kind of politics across Villa Park at the moment. So loads to discuss, and everyone is in the chat. We're also streaming live on Twitter, I believe, or X as it is now. So hopefully everyone can join us. Even more people can join us. If you're on YouTube though, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We've had some amazing growth over the last week or so, smashing through 4,000 subscribers, really close to 4,100 already, which is amazing. So please hit the like button, please subscribe. If you want to become a member, click the link at the top of the chat. And if you're on YouTube watching us, or if you're on Twitter or X watching us, follow us at Villa Park Pod. And get involved in the show, get involved in the chat. This is the fans forum, it's your show as well, so get your comments and questions in. Martin, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. That is 2 minutes in, so I got less time than Sam did
Exactly. I
whenever
tried
you're
to whiz
talking.
through
So
it. I tried to
yeah,
whiz through it,
so
and we're on X as well, so I had even
yeah.
more to discuss.
I think I'm gonna call a spade for spade here, Rich. I think I'm your favorite, and Sam not so much. Hence why you talk for about 5 or so minutes. You know what I mean? But no, I'm all good. It's good to be on the channel and discuss a lot of transfers and potential outgoings, incomings, and of course, bit of a catch-22. Villa players playing for England.
Exactly, mate. To be honest, it feels like ages since I've seen you. I mean, I've done loads of videos by myself. It's nice to have a little bit of company for a live show, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. It's always good to have a bit of company now because since I've had my second infusion for my Crohn's, for those who don't know, I suffer with an IBF form of Crohn's disease, which can affect bowels and your digestive system and your mouth, so everything kind of in the middle of it. And ever since I've had my second infusion, I've had like a burst of life of
Wicked.
it's almost like steroids where you check it in, all of a sudden you're 90 mile an hour, and I've been fresh to daisy now, so hopefully more shows to come, Rich.
Good man, good man. Well, it's as always, it's great to have you on board, and everyone else in the chat. Brock is joining us. Good evening to you. Hello to you, Michael. James as well. Good evening. AVFC Watsy as well. I've got your question or your comment as well. I'll star that to make sure I come through to that one. And Rachel's in the chat as well. Good evening, Michael as well. Good evening to you, Martin Leonard Senior. Good evening to you, mate. Happy Tuesday. Bear in the Garden. CH. Alan as well. Hit the like button as well, as he says there. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Willie Moyes as well. Evening, guys. Well done on the 4K. Thank you so much, mate. And thank you for all your support. Yes, Kev does get the airtime. He does. Sometimes it's not deserved as well. And yes, message from your dad there, mate. You can clean your room now with all that extra energy. This is the problem with having your dad on the in the chat, mate. He's always ready to embarrass you.
You know what's funny? You can't even win because if he goes and slags somebody and goes, "Go on, slag him," I'm like, you can't win, like, you know. But here, I can't wait to have a child of my own someday and turn around and start slagging my son, like, you know. So fair play, Dad. You win 1-0.
Good, 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 good. There you go, there you go. Right, so let's get straight into it. Where do we start? I mean, it's got to be the show, the first headline, Douglas Luiz to Juventus. Now, when this first was mooted, I did mention this last week or a few days ago on one of my transfer talk shows, and a lot of people sort of said, no, there's no way, there's no way. And it's kind of got more and more legs as it's gone on. But not only that, and we'll talk about the potential players linked into it in a second, but it's actually moved into this kind of trading or swap deal with players. This is getting really interesting, Martin.
Yeah, now, as far as I'm aware, I think Juventus are financially restricted with what players they can and cannot sign. Hence why maybe the need for a swap to, offer less money and of course whatever that player was worth to add up the bit of value. But in my opinion, that if we value Douglas Luiz at £70 million plus, whatever it might be, Juventus need to be offering north of 50 plus McKennie, in my opinion, because if there's this rumor going around that it's 40 million plus McKennie, and if McKennie is valued at between 20 to 25 million, it's a bit less than what we value the player. So that has to be, north of 50 million, in my opinion, because if you get 50 million and a centre midfielder, that's great. It is, but I'm not a fan of McKennie. That's my personal opinion. I don't think I ever have been, not because of the Leeds spell. It's a lot of people will probably point out his spell with Leeds and everything else, but for me, I don't fancy him because he's struggling to get into a team. This feels like a PR move, if you will, because he wants to come to the Premier League, and of course we're a Champions League club. I'm gonna go to Villa because they're a Champions League club. I don't want players that want to come here just because we're a Champions League club. I want players to come that want to be in Aston Villa. Now, sure, the Champions League's a bonus and it's gonna pull attractive players, of course, but you'd want players to come that want to be at Villa, not because of a swap. And yes, I'm going to a Champions League club. What a deal! But then, now I'm not saying Champions League is guaranteed every year, but you want players coming here that want to be at Villa. And I'm not saying Kenny doesn't want to be at Villa. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But I would like to think that if you're going to offer whatever money it is with Luiz, it has to be north of 50 million plus a midfielder.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% see what you're saying. You don't want a player being used as a make weight and then kind of like, oh, we want this player, i.e. Douglas Luiz, so you're going to go to Aston Villa in return, and he's not really had a say in the matter. He's just kind of said, oh, well, okay, then if Villa have gone in for me, then I might as well move, or if you guys don't want me, then I'll have to try to go to Aston Villa. Like, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I completely agree. In terms of the McKennie thing, we'll talk that in a second with regards to what he might bring, the other
Yeah.
players being linked as well, and whether it is a potential good fit if we have to lose a Douglas Luiz. But let's in terms of the Douglas Luiz situation and what he is worth, let's have his kind of sofa score and what he did this season in the Premier League. So if we're looking at, obviously he can play central midfield traditionally, or defensive midfield. He can even play a little bit further forward, and then you're looking at him across the pitch.
Yeah.
His main work is done in those, the midfield third, so not necessarily too much in the box, but we know he's obviously scored goals this season, 9 goals, which is a really good return for him. 35 games played as well, so 35 starts. Has missed 3 big chances, so could have had more, 7 inside the box. Obviously some penalties as well with that. Almost with his right foot, except for 1 headed goal, 2 from outside the box, 5 assists as well, and 10 big chances created. So has obviously had a very, very good season. And look at the passing accuracy there, 93% in his own half, 80% in the opposition half. Ball recoveries as well at 5.3 is pretty decent. And even the 1.7 tackles per game, successful dribbles when he does, he's usually pretty good at them. And the aerial duels won when he does, not too often, but pretty successful, and tackles, 1 in 2 tackles won as well. So not, pretty decent as an overall midfielder, and very good as an overall midfielder, and those numbers stack up. So in terms of the valuation, they have him at 75 million euros. So what would that be? About 65, 68 million pounds, I would say. It's not far off what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if it's, what'd you say, 75 million euros, was it?
Yeah, 75 million euros. That's
68
what
million
total
pounds. So
score have got him.
you would still want north to 50 million, because if you're offering, say, 40 million pounds and McKennie's 20, you're 8 million short. You see, you're gonna want that type of thing. And if we were to lose Luiz, in my opinion, it's not the end of the world. It's not like a situation. Remember when we lost Grealish at the time and everyone was probably losing it. We're losing our best player. Where is the club gonna go? Now we have a case of we're losing a player. Right, fair enough, for PSO reasons or financial fair play, but we're not necessarily going to be shell shocked that he's leaving. You know what I mean? Because it's not a case of, remember Grealish when he left, it was a bit emotional that someone was leaving us, a crucial player that when we got Bailey, Buendia, you know, everything else. But when with Douglas Luiz, if he leaves, it's not the end of the world. Look at the players we've got, and look at the players we could potentially bring in, which we're going to talk about in a bit. I'm not going to ruin any names. It's not the end of the world, in my opinion, and we can really be excited for next season if we do sell on players in order to get a few names in. And you might see better quality in depth. You might see better quality in the starting 11, because you have to remember this is a team and this is a squad now. Because how many years did Aston Villa have just a good 11? And maybe one or two on the bench, and there wasn't really
Well,
much
we
offense
saw
after that.
elements of that this season, even with,
Yeah, we
I'd
did. We
say,
saw a little of that
14,
this season due
15
to the injuries, but
good players.
when we
Yeah,
had
yeah,
when we had everyone fit, look who we could bring on.
exactly.
You could have brought on a Mings, you could have bring on an Emi Buendia, a Ramsey. You know, you'd have who else? Zaniolo, Diaby, like if all these players who could have been moved around, shifted around, and better rest periods, we probably would have had a much better season. But because it was so injury inflated, and to get it at the end of the season as well, never mind the middle or the start, the end of the season, the business end of the season, to get it, it really was a shock to the system. You
Yeah.
know, because
Well,
then
this,
all of a sudden everyone's tired. You know, you're running on your last bits of engine because you've played for so long, and other teams were gone from them injuries and they were flying.
yeah,
Great
yeah,
end.
well, yeah. I agree. I agree. And this is what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, and maybe even last week with Kevin and with Sam. I think it's not. I think I echo your points in terms of it. As long as we get in the right player in, and we'll come to McKennie in a second, as that's the first player we're going to talk about. As long as we get the
Yeah,
right type of players in, and we've talked about this whole trusting in Unai Emery and what he's doing, and trusting in Monchi and what he's doing.
yeah,
So we have to go with that, and we have to believe that they're looking at the right type of players. They see where that potential player, if he is to come in, and one or two others are to come in, that they fit and they can develop and they can add to the squad. Then we're going to have to potentially lose a player of a Luiz's quality or someone else's quality, and we have to just be okay with that, because
yeah,
we need to be of the opinion that we can't be a team now or a club that is scared of selling players when they hit the value that they should be they should be hitting and they should be being
mm,
sold at. We
yeah,
can't be looking at, oh, we've got to hold on to this player, and then they reach an age where they're too old and you end up getting no money for them.
yeah,
We've got to make
uh,
some, like, we haven't made big money on a player since Grealish. Yes, we sold Chukwuemeka for 20 million, but I'm talking the 60, 70 millions. And if we can get
yeah,
30, 35 million plus, let's say, a McKennie in this instance, and then utilize him to buy another player who we're going to talk about in a second,
yeah.
then so be it.
Yeah, and I think a prime example of what kind of happened, and I'm going to go to Liverpool in this example, when they sold Coutinho for 150 million. Now, overpriced, of course, but look what they got. They didn't just go and get one particular replacement. They got a centre back, Virgil van Dijk. They got a goalkeeper, Allison, and look what they've gone to do. If we were to sell Luiz here and maybe one or two others and buy qualities in different areas of the pitch, yes, bring in a replacement for them, of course. But if we bring in certain areas of the pitch, right back, backup striker, maybe a left back, another centre back to come in, possibly because Linglay's gone away from the club, and another maybe attacking midfielder since Zaniolo's away as well. You know, then all of a sudden you've got a really good squad. And of course, there's other names being mentioned to come in, and we will touch on that. And McKennie's probably going to be the first one we're going to talk about. But we cannot now, because I remember the original plan from the owners, it was to buy players in the cheap and sell on for a profit. I think a lot of people will kind of remember that. If
Mhm.
that's the route we're going, great. And of course, with the names being linked, it's adding more quality to the team. And I think that's great. Selling players on from what we bought them for at a huge profit. Of course, Louise, I know Ramsey's Academy, who's one who's been talked about. Matty Cash, of course, and there's other different players that really now have a sell on value we need to exploit in not sell everybody, of course, but if you sell one or two, bring in two or three, and you've still got quality all over the pitch.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Well, we'll cover both because there's so many comments coming in. I will get some
Yeah,
comments through, and we've got
massive here.
over 220 people in the chat watching, which is
Wow.
amazing. So, guys, smash the like button. and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Amazing numbers, and keep those comments coming in. We will try and read as many as we can. So, obviously, Weston McKennie is doing the rounds, and Villa have had conversations with
Yeah.
Juventus around him. And then David Ornstein has also reported, as confirmed by him, as we talked about last week and across the week, that Conor Gallagher, Chelsea are prepared to sell, and Aston Villa have held preliminary discussions with his representatives. Now, I'm sure this player will be wanted by numerous clubs, i.e., Tottenham and one or two others. So we will be under competition for him. Now, again, looking at SofaScore on both of these players, I'll start with Weston McKennie.
Okay.
A lot of people are talking about him based off the fact that he's of his Leeds days, which was a nightmare, let's say, an absolute nightmare. Now, he's predominantly at Juve. Now, this was a surprise to me when I looked at this. Had 34 games played, started 29, hasn't scored a goal, but has had 7 assists. Sorry, and has been a big part of their pretty decent season this season. I think they finished third in Serie A. 5 big chances created, 83% accuracy in his own half in terms of passing, 75% in the opposition half, 3.4 ball recoveries, 1.8 clearances, 1.4 tackles per game. And a lot of the write-ups have been he's been a big driving force in them progressing forwards and winning the ball, and been a real linchpin in their midfield. I think there's been a number of articles written about him and kind of his turnaround this season. Now, a little look at Luiz here, and then McKennie on top of it. We're seeing a player who's got attributes that Douglas Luiz maybe doesn't have, okay, but are also
Sorry, is
things that,
Weston McKennie the blue, is he?
yes, I believe,
Yes,
yeah.
Weston
No,
McKennie's blue. Okay.
sorry. Weston McKennie is the green,
Okay.
and Luiz is the blue. So yeah, Luiz has obviously got the jump on him in terms of creativity and attacking and technical ability.
Yeah.
Tackling and defensive is fairly similar. So he's probably looking at a certain attribute that Weston McKennie's got, mixed that up with one or two other players who we're linked with, i.e. Conor Gallagher, who we'll have a look at in a second. But again, when we talk about this trust in Unai Emery, a lot of people on Twitter saying no, Weston McKennie, absolutely not, absolutely not. But are they judging him based on his situation at Leeds, or are we talking about people who've watched him, quite a lot of the Italian league for from last season?
Yeah, and of course, I touched on that with the situation at Leeds. I don't really pay too much attention to his situation at Leeds because he was only on loan for a short period of time. Just because he had a bad spell at that club doesn't mean he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't fancy him as a player. Like, don't get me wrong, he's obviously had a decent season with Juventus, getting 7 assists. Predominantly, clearly plays on the right, as you just showed there in your map, which maybe that's why Unai fancies him, someone to come into that right midfield, right centre midfield role for him, since he likes to play with a 4-2-2. It might work for him. You never know. But me personally, I don't fancy him as a player. And I remember the last time he went in for him, I think he put some crazy on the table that, he wanted this amount and we weren't willing to do it. And he obviously then went to Juventus after, because I think we went from when he was at Schalke when we first got promoted.
Yeah,
And he wanted
I
this
think his
amount, and then he
agent
went
as well
to
was probably
Juventus.
hawking him around a number of clubs. But yeah, we
Yeah,
were
I
interested.
think it was around then. But yeah, I was saying to myself, I just never fancied him as a player. I watched him in the Schalke days because I do like to watch the Bundesliga sometimes. But I mean, watched him, I thought great player, but I don't think there's anything special. But if he comes, I will support him. Don't get me wrong, I support every single Aston Villa player that comes. And if he does come and does well, I'll hold my hand up. It was the same for Linglet this year, where I was constantly slating him, and then when he put in a few good performances, like, right, no problem. Sorry, mate.
Well, it's this trust. We've got to have full faith in Emery and Monchi and what they do. That doesn't mean you can't necessarily criticise a signing, but if we're saying that and then we see a name that we don't necessarily like, we've got to think, okay, well, look, we'll see what they can believe that they can bring to the table. Let
Yeah.
me just talk. Let me just go through a few comments. So AVFC Watsy said, I can't get my head around this swap deal with Luiz to Juve. Seems a strange one to me. Can't remember last time a swap deal happened, and why would he choose Juve? They're not competing at the minute. Well, look, they're going to be in the Champions League. They're third in the table, different league, etc., etc. So you can see maybe why it would work. CH also says swap deal seems weird. I don't rate McKennie, and I don't think we should be coaxed into taking a lesser price for Dougie because we can get McKennie. That's what you said as well. So don't not be tempted. Rachel says McKennie and Dougie will be separate deals for the profit and sustainability sheets. Yeah, I do agree. James says it's all paper talk until Villa players in a Villa shirt or anything else. Yes, absolutely. Adamski says Juve fans think they're getting Luiz for for Weston McKennie in a straight swap. Yeah. Luca says Fabrizio and David Ornstein have not mentioned anything about Luiz, so until one of them says something, I'm not believing anything.
Fair point. That's actually a fair point.
Fair point. I will says I don't want Villa being a selling club, and I think that's. Adamski said I actually don't mind selling Luiz. Slows the play down a lot. Great play, but we need to speed up our attacks. So some interesting
that's
comments
an interesting point there, Adamski.
Yeah.
That actually is a very interesting point to make. There is elements sometimes where Luiz has probably hold on to it for a bit longer than he should have, but it's when you're thinking about it, it's an interesting point.
Yeah,
fair dinkum.
Yeah,
fair dinkum.
James Villa on Twitter, James Villa 1982 watches the show all the time. He asked me if we could talk about this, so linked to the same thing. He's heard potentially from sources that it's 65 million plus add-ons for Luiz and McKennie, and then Villa will negotiate for Chiesa and will go in for Gallagher. From what I know, the contract has been on offer for 6 months to Luiz, but he wants to leave apparently. So there you go.
So who said this again? My apologies.
James Saunders. He watches all the time, but he goes by the name of James_Villa 1982 on X.
So it's 65 million plus.
65 million plus add-ons for Luiz and McKennie, and Villa will negotiate for Chiesa. And we're going to go in for Gallagher, which we've obviously said today. And this was before Ornstein reported it as well, to give James his credit. And apparently Luiz has had a contract on the table for 6 months.
6 months?
He's had a contract offer on the table from Villa for 6 months, and he indicates he wants, as it had already indicated, that he wants to leave.
6 months is not a lot, so you can probably see why he wants, if that's the case, why he wants to leave.
No, we offered him a new contract 6 months ago, and it's still he hasn't signed
6 months ago. Sorry, okay, my apologies. Well, 65 million plus McKennie. If someone told me that, I'm taking it. 100%, 65 million, and then what? McKennie is 25 million, probably plus. That's 90 million you're getting. That's a great deal if you ask me. And Chiesa, he turned down a new deal, I think, from.
He's turned down a deal today, yeah.
So obviously he's on a cut price of like 20 to 25 million euros. Now that, if you're getting 65, whether it's 65 million euros or 65 million pounds from Juventus, I'd take 20 to 25 out of that, slap it on Chiesa, and whatever the rest is for Gallagher, and you've got yourself 3 very good players for selling one. A bit like Grealish. Remember when we sold him and we got Bailey, Danny Ings, and Buendia?
Yeah,
this could be the same situation.
Well, this is the thing. This is where the merry-go-round, and a few clubs I imagine will be onto this merry-go-round. So at the moment, we've gone Luiz, McKennie, potentially Chiesa. Now we're talking utilising some of that money. As I just said, we've had conversations with Gallagher's representatives. I talked about Conor Gallagher the other day as well. What are your thoughts before going to the comments? What are your thoughts on Conor Gallagher?
I like him. I do like him. His tenacity, his aggression on the pitch as well. He's a real leader. Like, he's not Chelsea's captain for no silly reason. Like, he's a real leader on the pitch. I thought it was a strange choice, in my opinion, to make him captain, considering they had Thiago Silva there. who's had such a wealth of experience in the game. Now I could be wrong. He's Chelsea through and through. He's come through their academy. He's had loan spells at Crystal Palace. He's had loan spells at West Brom. So he's come up the hard way. He hasn't necessarily just had an easy ride. He hasn't. He's come up the hard way. Really worked hard. And you see it when he's playing. He's seen it when he played against us. He was all over the pitch, man. He literally does not stop. He does not stop running, and that's what you want. You want someone in there that's a workhorse. And don't get me wrong, McGinn does it for you, but he can't do it all the time. He needs someone else to do it as well. And if McGinn can step back and Gallagher's doing the workhorse stuff as well, that might make McGinn a better player. Might make some other players better. If you got two workhorses in the starting lineup, all of a sudden other players are going to go, right, lads, if these two are up for it, let's lift up to this level. And I think Gallagher, who I think has played the Champions League once, if I'm correct,
right,
with Chelsea. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Who had a decent enough season, and of course, he's probably going to want to move to, say, us or Spurs, to a higher caliber of European football, which you probably feel like he deserves.
yeah, and also it looks like Chelsea are needing to, or
Yeah,
or having to
yeah.
balance the books with regards to profit and sustainability.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why Poch left, because rumour has it Poch left because he didn't want to sell Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he was probably looking at some other players to get rid of. Because in fairness, if I'm correct, I mean, Chelsea has an academy where they've always sold on players for so much. So why Gallagher? If he's a Chelsea captain, don't get me wrong, he's an academy player. And then when you're looking at PSR rules, why him though? Because there's other players there. Have they not sold for so much? Look at Ian Matson. He's an academy player that's come
Well,
through.
they talk about selling him as well. So whether they've
Yeah.
got to raise a considerable amount of money on the PSR thing, I don't know.
Supposedly Reece James is
Yeah,
up for it too.
yeah,
Supposedly Reece
yeah,
James is up for it too.
yeah.
So
Uh,
it's going to be an
comment.
interesting summer.
Yeah, it's massively interesting. We'll look at his stats as well. So I'll show you his stats on SofaScore as well in a second. But
Of course.
Duncan says Conor Gallagher interests me much more. Superb passer. Gaza says Conor is superb, like a younger McGinn with the running and the tenacity. Duncan said in terms of distribution, I think, is that Gallagher better than Luiz, maybe, or Gallagher not quite as good as Luiz? You have to.
Yeah,
I'm
just
not
explain
sure
that
with
one a
those
bit for us,
arrows.
Duncan,
I
please.
always do get confused about
Yeah,
those
I always get
arrows.
confused with that one as well.
Yeah.
Do you prefer this one or that one?
Dunk also said Gallagher is definitely an Emery type player.
Yeah.
ABFC US says I like Gallagher for those reasons. I think the reasons that you outlined, Martin. Matt Rachel said adding Gallagher will help the midfield and give more tactical options. And I
Great
think
show.
that's where I went with the other day when I did a little summary of him, and we'll look at his stats now. I said, you look at where he gets about the pitch.
Yeah.
AVFC US, I think it was before mentioned about the tackling and the tenacity, and sometimes that was sometimes lacking in our midfield. Well, him and McGinn say in a midfield, potentially away from home, or when we need to win the midfield battle or something, that would be really interesting to see us, competing really well in midfield. Maybe not quite the physicality that I would maybe like to see, but McKennie probably brings that if he comes in. But certainly in terms of pace, in terms of tenacity, in terms of pressing, then Gallagher is that player and knows where the goal is. 5 goals this season, consistent player, 37 starts in the Premier League, 37 games played, pretty much played every minute. Big chances missed as well, so could score more, score some inside and outside the box, scores with both feet as well. So 1 goal with his left, 4 with the right, 7 assists as well. So creative. We know how many chances Nicholas Jackson in particular missed this season, and Gallagher created 11 other big chances as well.
Yeah.
Pretty good, pretty high passing accuracy. I mean, you're talking 92% overall across 47.7 passes, 85% in the opposition half. So Wood clearly knows how to utilize the ball. Maybe doesn't always pick the right option in terms of, a pass, a through ball, or a risky pass, but
But he's
certainly
always looking
keeps
to go
possession.
forward, and that's what you want. You
Yes.
want someone who's going to go forward.
6
Can
ball
you just go back to the
recoveries.
heat map whenever you're ready? Can you go back to the heat map for me whenever you're ready?
Of course, six ball recoveries as well. 68% in successful dribbles, and over 50% in duels won. So consistent player. He's not always my favourite type of player. Particularly sometimes for England as well, can be a bit rash, can be a bit ragged, but you can't argue with that work rate.
Right. So just on the heat map, look at where he's pressing.
Hmm.
Right. Look at that. He's not just pressing in the bottom third of the pitch. He's also pressing in the final third of the pitch. And that's, I think, what we've missed probably sometimes this season. No, because we play with such a high line, and you've touched on it sometimes, Rich. If we're playing with such a high line, then there needs to be an element of high pressing to it. Because sometimes the balls kind of come over the top of us or in behind us too quickly. If you got someone like a Conor Gallagher who's doing the high pressing, and a McGinn doing the high pressing, a Bailey, a Watkins, because Watkins loves to press too. If you got them lads doing the high pressing, our high line will be more effective, I think. In terms of, yes, we've caught teams offside the most this season, and we'll probably do it again next season. But if you got the high line, where teams are going to struggle to come through us, as well as get in behind us, we could be a force to be reckoned with. And I think next season, if everybody's fit, please God, and touch wood, we could really be in such a high end of the table. I'm very excited for it. If I do see Conor Gallagher in, I will not believe Conor Gallagher's in until I see him in that shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that's for me on that one, because it's such an exciting sign, and probably some people would disagree, which is rightly so. Conor Gallagher's not everybody's cup of tea, which you've just touched on there, Rich, but it could be a great signing. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. Juan Manuel Basso, thank you for tuning in. Says creativity is not something he would highlight with Gallagher. I absolutely agree. I think his main attributes are the pressing and the
Mm-mm.
tempo, and the drive that he brings, and like similar to McGinn, like Jim says, Gallagher is like a McGinn for me. Yeah, I agree, but
Yeah.
we're talking McGinn's maybe coming up to 30, Gallagher's 24, so
Yeah, like
those
you're getting at
legs,
a great age. You're gonna get,
yeah.
look. McGinn has sell on value anyway, because we only bought him for 2.5 million. So regardless of how old McGinn is going to be north of 20 to 30 million if we do sell him.
Possibly,
I'm not saying we
possibly, but
will,
what
but
I mean is that yes, Gallagher and McGinn could play together, but is McGinn going to be able to play at the same level of? I know we talk about this, once players hit to 30, they can obviously play for longer, but what we talk about is playing at that level. Champions League on the Tuesday, Premier League on the Saturday. You can't, with the best win in the world, you can't operate at the tempo and the pace that John McGinn operates at for that particular amount of time. So having someone like Conor Gallagher in, who, yes, potentially has that same tempo and that same quality as John McGinn, you're not going to necessarily lose out if one of the other is playing. And then also, obviously, if both of them are playing, you're going to have a really high tempo midfield in
yeah,
for that
you
particular
really
game.
are. I think I've been done dirty here by Jim. Fair play to him. Quick on the mark with this one. Fair play, Jim. I wish I,
Yeah,
you know what,
yeah.
and I'm actually on a desk. Would you believe? So hang on. There it is. Look, I was touching wood. See. So look, fair play to you, though, mate.
Good
That's a
lad,
good one. I
Jim.
like
Good
that one.
lad, Jim. But yeah, so this is the kind of final bit on this section before we talk about a couple of other players, because there's other people that have mentioned that I totally forgot about, the Guendouzis and all that kind of stuff. But we'll
Yeah.
cover a couple of different players in a second. But Ross Barkley,
Mm.
Fabrizio's reported that we're going to announce that probably 1st of July, once all the contracts and everything's signed and medical's done. So a midfield options, if everything links into play and everything falls into place, midfield options could be Ross Barkley, Conor Gallagher, Weston McKennie, Yuri Tillemans, John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey, and then sell Douglas Luiz. Now, would you be happy with that? Oh, and Boubacar Kamara, sorry, when he comes back fit. Would you be happy with those options in midfield going into a season?
Yes. 100% yes. I think that, don't get me wrong, if you lose Luiz, like I said earlier, it's not the end of the world, because you've seen those options there. Now, will all those players be in? Ross Barkley is one that's confirmed as a verbal agreement, but until he's in a villager again, we'll have
Yeah,
to see.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? It's so
yeah,
cliche
yeah,
now these
yeah, yeah.
days. Like, if
Do the old
someone's going to
David
be in the door,
Unsworth.
we need to see you in the jersey.
Yeah.
Gallagher, McKennie. If Luiz goes and you get those players in, three midfielders in, I think that's a great midfield. I really do. Like, Ross Barkley's really invented himself as a six. The maturity levels he's possessed, the quality of the way he was playing, and it's not even that like how he was playing. His ball carrying for Luton was unbelievable. Did
Mhm.
you see it? It was incredible
Yeah,
how he
yeah.
was
No, he
getting the
was. He
ball
had
from literally
obviously
the edge of Luton's
obviously
box,
see
and he's
playing
bringing
the
it all the way over. It was
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
And I remember the game against Chelsea. I was actually in Birmingham for it. I think it was the game against either it was the Sheffield or Burnley. I can't remember which one it was, where he was playing against Chelsea and he was running the show. He was running the show. How he got on the chest, the ball went up, came down, he backed heeled through Chelsea's defence. So I'm going. This was the Ross Barkley of the 4 games before he got injured for Aston Villa. And I think he's really, because his maturity levels and everything else, he probably got hit with reality and thought, you know what, right, this is not my level. I'm gonna knock down now, put my head down, put in the work, and look, he's getting his due awards. He came back to the Premier League with Luton, didn't get a fuss, never said, I'm better than Luton or blah 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 blah. Now there was, of course, an agreement in his contract. If Luton were relegated, he would go on the cheap. That's fine because of the player he is. But now we're getting a Ross Barkley that he was really matured. He's a number 6 now, and he's a great quality. Like, if someone now, will he be a starter? Personally, I don't think so. But it's someone so good to bring on. Like, if we've looked at some games where our midfield has been a bit weak, a bit light, and you bring in someone like a Ross Barkley, who's going to carry the ball, be really physical in games, that's going to be incredible for us, because then it'll only show that we don't have just a set midfield. We can have a headache because of Ross Barkley. And it would be really, really good now. Once he's in the door, I think he'll definitely play minutes. He'll play a lot of minutes, I think. FA Cup, Carabao Cup, probably, a few minutes here and there for Champions League and Premier League. But I definitely believe this is a good deal. I'm still 50-50 though, because of what he done for Villa previously. And it wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily
no,
his fault. It was just
I
with the
think, yeah,
injuries.
yeah. I think a few Villa fans will need a little bit more convincing with him. However, like when I've listed those names, I mean, Gary said he'd be delirious if we managed to get that after selling, say, Douglas Luiz. If you can bring into that quality of midfield, those different options, then it adds a lot of depth, a lot of quality, a lot of ball carrying, a lot of possession, a lot of physicality, a lot of tempo. I mean, it just gives everything.
Yeah,
Obviously, what he says, Barkley, very clever signing, cheap quality and squad depth.
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very, very interesting. I just want to say, guys, we've got over 300 people watching, which is just phenomenal. I think we've got lots of people watching on X. We've got over 120, 130 people watching on YouTube as well, which is brilliant. We've only got 37 likes though on YouTube. So if you are watching and you are able to, please just click the like button for us. And if you are new to the channel, if you're watching on X as well, jump across to YouTube, quickly click the subscribe button for us, and hit the like button as well while you're there, just to
Yeah.
help us continue to grow. Thank you so much, everyone. So, another name, and we'll talk about outgoings, Chelsea again. And you've put hungry for the move, as
Hmm.
in hungry like the wolf. John Duran, again, is, I think it was Ornstein that wrote this. Someone
Yeah.
definitely did.
Ornstein
Said
wrote it.
that we've known that Chelsea have held an interest in him. We know that Maresca has gone in as a manager, as the head coach, sorry. So he won't really have a say on these players. He's agreed to come in and
Hmm.
agreed for them to sign the players for him to coach. Now, John Duran is a player who is high up on their list of being their number 9, leading their line. What are your thoughts on John Duran moving on and being sold?
I'm John Duran, liking all the Chelsea post. Eager for that movie. He was like this. Look, he was like a non-stop. He was. When you get one of your mates or something, and they just want to spam your notifications bell when you just see this, like this, like this, like this. That was Chelsea probably seeing John Duran. Oh, he looks like a good player. Who's he playing for? Aston Villa. Oh, he's very good. Oh, here. This is a weird one in my opinion, because I don't know why Chelsea would want Duran. No, I'm not knocking any criticism through Duran. I think he's a great impact player. But for someone to go as if like a second choice striker and they want him leading the line, a club like Chelsea Football Club, it just makes no sense to me, in my opinion. But look, if they want to come in and offer, you have to remember this is Todd Bowley. We can only get 30 million for Duran because it's Todd
Yeah,
Bowley. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly,
It was probably
exactly. You could just name your
5 million
price.
a light post at this minute for John Duran, like, you know. So uh, I think this is going to be I think it's a weird one in my opinion. I really do. I think he's eager for it. I think his agent is also eager for it.
Oh,
Like,
his agent will be.
you
I
know,
mean,
I say his agents are
Rachel's
here in
saying
Chelsea
here.
Football Club, and it's like music to his ears during the Christmas. It's like, yep, I heard Chelsea. But John, literally on the phone.
Well, you think of the wages he could command for Chelsea as well. And Rachel said there's a bidding war for Duran, Italy, Spain, and Saudi Arabia, and some Prem teams. So, with that in mind as well, AVFC US says he's going to be a star, so we should keep him. But would you want a player who is aiming for a move, and every time a club flirts with him potentially, he's going to be looking at moving, he's going to be liking their posts and all that kind of stuff, and deleting everything, the deleting all his content on Instagram and stuff? Do you want that headache? Because Emery has indicated a few times that he knows the talent's there, but he doesn't know if he can, if Duran even wants it enough, if he wants to listen to what
It's the
Unai Emery
maturity and
wants,
obsession.
and
It's the
is
maturity and obsession.
Emery got has Emery got the time and the energy, particularly going into a season where we're competing on higher level fronts, particularly in the Champions League, particularly as we've got to be consistent in the Premier League to try and get into Europe again the next season. Is he going to have the energy to keep having to deal with a player who, yes, he's got undoubted talent, but he's taking a lot of time and effort to get him
Mm.
on the right path?
It's as the old saying goes, talent is unbelievable, but hard work beats talent. It's always been the case. Duran has the talent, he has the ability, there's no doubt about it. But he has to be obsessed with being the best, not just because of there's a slight interest coming from this football club. Oh yeah, I'll go, and then it doesn't work out, and all of a sudden your PR is going down. We've seen it happen to some players before where they do well for a short period of time. All of a sudden, they make a big move, probably too soon, and then boom, you've been hit with reality. You're not as good as you thought you were, and all of a sudden, then you're going on a move to a club where you were less of what you were before. So, in my opinion, John Duran has to be obsessed with being the best. He has to be. Don't get me wrong; he's a young lad who moved all the way from America, age of 18. Probably has this sense of like, he's a kid.
Hmm.
He's just a big kid at this minute, like, and the way he's behaving, he's got this arrogance about him. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind arrogance, but back it up. And in my opinion, I don't think he's backed it up enough. Now, don't get me wrong, I think he's had a great end to the season where he's chipped in with a few goals, and the attitude might be slightly better. But at the same time, you've got to look at it and go, right, how long can Emery deal with this? Because he's dealt with it now, what, about a year and a half, if I'm correct. And there's been no signs of improvement from Duran. So Emery's got to sit himself down and think, right, there's probably an offer on the table from Chelsea. Stay, it's at a profit from what we bought him for, because this is Todd Bowley. We're probably going to get a profit. He will have to consider that big time and go to himself, right, I'm going to take this offer because of the way his attitude is towards myself, players, and whatever it might be, whatever the reason is, and sells him on. And then I would turn around and say, if we do that, either give Cameron Archer a chance since he's back because of the relegation for Sheffield United, or you get a good, decent backup striker to Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty mixed in the chat actually. Quite a few people are talking, saying we need to keep him and he could be a real star for us. Other people saying, we need to get the money for him and just get rid. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Mm.
Paul says Barkley, Gallagher are wonderful players and Emery can make them better, but Duran has proven previously his hard work, but he could be really, really good. But will he wait for the chance at Villa? And that's part of it as well. Will he even wait for that chance?
Yeah,
That's the other part of it as well. But
yeah, the patience.
AVFC
Yeah.
US says he does work. I think he does have that mentality. It's just too much right now since he hasn't earned anything. And that's the thing. That's the conundrum. So it is going to be really interesting to look at. I just want to shout out our channel supporters before we move on. Football prizes. At the moment, they have a prize on to win a signed Pau Torres shirt. So if you would like to enter that competition and have a chance to win a signed Pau Torres shirt, the competition ends on Thursday, the 6th of June at 7:30. So you've got a couple of days left to enter the prize. Obviously, a ticket costs £3.95. There's only a limited number of tickets available. So you've got a really good chance of winning. And then also the competition features 13 instant win prizes, including the chance to potentially win a Diego Carlos signed and framed shirt. So please check out footballprizes.co.uk. This one is specific to Villa, but they've got a number of other prizes, general football and general sports prizes as well. Lots of great memorabilia. So check out footballprizes.co.uk. So let's talk a couple more, I guess, side transfer deals. Matty Cash, interesting AC Milan. Paulo Dybala is interesting. A number of clubs. It could potentially be an option for Aston Villa. Apparently, he is available for a cut price deal. Seems to be quite a few Italian players, big players from
Mm.
Italy, available for cut price deals, which is interesting. And obviously, we talked about Guendouzi as well. Potentially, I think he's signed a contract at Lazio, but it's 30 million euros he's now potentially available for. So, again, Matty Cash, is he a player who you'd be prepared to see go potentially to an AC Milan? And I guess Guendouzi, Dybala, do those type of names excite you?
Dybala excites me. I think he'd be a great addition to our team with a good bit of quality depth.
Nice, nice. AC Milan can't afford cash,
Get him
literally, as
to
Adamski says. Yeah.
um, Cash. Would I want him leaving? Popular to contrary to popular belief, I wouldn't want Cash leaving. I think he should be around. If we do bring in a better right back than him, I think he's a great backup. I really do. I just think he went off form a little bit, didn't start to play regularly, and it kind of showed. But I think he'd be a great backup right back to somebody if we do bring someone in. We have to remember we have Nadal Djokovic coming in.
Hmm.
Will he be first choice straight away? Probably not. Is he going to be nurtured into it? Probably will, because he's played Champions League. He put Grealish in his pocket. He's put some different players in his pocket in the Champions League, hence why we went from so early on. So he's going to come in. So he'll be definitely a new signing, of course. But we'll have to. It'd be interesting to see how it develops. Apparently, we said to AC Milan that he's 30 million euros, and AC Milan said that's too high. And of course, they want to go for Emerson Royale, who was the first choice. And they said 25, which they consider too high. So what sort of player are AC Milan going to look for and get him on the cheap? Now, if that happens and you get Matty Cash for between 25 and 30 million euros, I know who's packing his bags.
Yeah, well,
You and I
yeah. I
know
mean,
who's packing his
we won't
bags.
be. We won't be. We won't be. I think Unai Emery will do the same. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's all every player's got their price, and then as you say, it's all about what comes in instead. And there's potential. I know Alan mentioned Konsa operates at right back. I prefer him at the right-sided centre back position. I think he's a little bit
yeah, I
wasted.
prefer my
You've
centre
got
back. He's much better.
Nedeljkovic as well, and then potentially someone else. So yeah, there's it just depends, as you've said there. Just depends on options. John says he wouldn't want to see Matty go anywhere. Martin is spot on. It's a great backup option, but I'd like to see us bolster that right back position.
Yeah,
And AVFC Watson says apparently that right back from Bosnia is a proper baller. So yeah,
that's
it's exciting to see him when he comes through. So yeah, I think that's look. the transfer talk has gone crazy today. I was wondering, everything that we talk about, but there's been so many players linked today and so much confirmed, and even
Mm.
it's
It's
to the
like a
point
sensory
now.
overload, isn't it? It's just like a
Yeah,
sensory
yeah, and
overload.
it's to the
Everything's
point
happening at
now
once.
where, yeah, absolutely. And I guess years ago it was like the player would sign and that would be it. They'd hold the shirt. Now we're getting like Ornstein and Romano reporting when clubs are just having talks about players. And it's like, well, clubs talk about players all the time. So,
Yeah.
it's
But when them
it
two
is a
both saying
little
clubs
bit
talking
crazy,
about
but
when them two are though posting like saying clubs talk about players, you know it's true.
yeah,
To some
yeah,
degree. To
yeah,
some degree, you know it's true.
yeah, of course, of course. I'm going to leave the international chat till the end. I think we'll finish up on that because I think that would be a nice way to finish up with regards to the Euros. And I know from a neutral perspective, but also from an Aston Villa perspective of
Hmm.
England, you can have a say on the matter, Martin. But I wanted to just talk quickly just about the off the field stuff. The ground, I think the attendance is going to be increased slightly to just under 43,000. I think 42,900. There's
Oh, it's just Villa Park.
numerous, yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
Villa
yeah,
Park.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Numerous hospitality areas being put in, extra
Mm,
hospitality areas, but they're not offering any more season tickets. And this week there's been, I guess, a bit of uproar on X about season ticket prices. They said that there's a 5% increase, but
mm,
we all said in our WhatsApp group when the prices were announced, it did seem to be. Now this doesn't affect us. We're not season ticket holders. We go to games as and when we can,
yeah.
but the prices seem pretty high to me. And you guys who are season ticket holders, please let us know in the chat. They seem some big increases to me. 900 quid in like zone one for certain tickets and stuff. And then I think there's an increase in price when you add on your Champions League add-ons as well. It is not going to be cheap next season. So I don't quite know where they got this 5% raise from because it seemed more than that to me.
Yeah, it did seem a lot higher. So supposedly this was this arrangement fee that whatever it is, and you can pay it off your season ticket in installments at interest free, but yet there's some sort of fee there where there is kind of an interest, but it's not an interest at the same sort of thing as well. It was all very weird to me. And when I seen the prices now again, I'm not a season ticket holder, I'm only a member. So I fly over when I can because I live abroad. But if I was a season ticket holder and I'm seeing them prices, I'd be going, wow. Like, wow. It's not great. I think the fans, the loyal fans, the ones who are getting the season tickets, are being priced out. And when you look at the hospitality sections, there's a hospitality in R2.
Yeah, that seems a bit strange.
I seen that and I went, they've cut out a bit of R2 for hospitality. Now I don't know if that was the north end or the whole end. I can't remember
I
which
wonder if
end it
it's
was.
section. I wonder if it's
Yeah, it
section
was one of the
D2.
sections was R2, and there was a hospitality section. I'm going, what
Yeah,
for? Like,
yeah,
what's that particular place going to be? Like, when I seen it around the middle, I thought to myself, right, fair enough. We probably haven't got enough hospitality sections in the middle of like the stand because, like, you would see in some clubs where they have the lower tier, the middle would be like your hospitality areas, and then you've got the upper tier. That I can gather, not a problem at all with it. But certain areas of the pitch, and I'm going, wow, it was quite a lot. In my opinion, I found to be quite a lot because there was corners of the grounds. There was
hmm
a hospitality section near where all the interview booths is. There was one near there. It was a lot, and I was going. To me, it felt like we are kind of being Americanized
Well, look,
because you know the way
he
you
said he
see
wants to,
NFL games, and it's
yeah, he
all the
definitely wants to
hospitalities.
maximize. He definitely wants to maximize some of that section, that side of it. But I'll read through the prices and where some of the hospitality areas are. So yes, you said R2 is a hospitality area. Hospitality area, sorry. There's also
Yeah,
an area in the top of the north stand in T5. There's the corners. There's a couple of corner areas. Obviously, they're like the suites, but there's an extra one, I think, in the corner where the Trinity and the Holt is. There's the middle part of the Trinity. There's a couple of middle parts there. There's a middle part in M2 and M1 now, the lower part of the Doug Ellis, and obviously the boxes across the middle. And there's a bit of a hospitality area at the back of R7 as well, which is in the corner. So quite a few areas, like you say. And in terms of prices, so we'll just go zone 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So an adult in zone 1 is £909. Zone 2 is
Jesus.
818.
That's a one-way
Zone
trip to Australia. You know that?
Zone 3 is £765, and Zone 4 is £640. So, I mean, yeah, it is quite pricey, and there are quite a few Zone 1 areas. There aren't that many Zone 4 areas, if I'm being honest. So,
No, I didn't. It didn't look like it, didn't it? No.
so
I think I
it's
seen someone put up a tweet that he paid £640. I think his name was Tyler, if I'm correct. And he paid £640. So he said he wasn't complaining. But then I remember seeing loads of different pictures of people like paying, I think, £2,000.
mm,
Like, so maybe that's two people for a season ticket because it's probably there's some online fee or whatever fee there probably is chucked into it, like service fees and everything else. I'm seeing £2,000 and I'm going, wow. And I don't know if that's for two or that's for three. I don't know how many it's for. But judging by the zones when I seen it, and there wasn't that many zone fours, there really wasn't. When I seen like all, it was actually looked like 1 and 2. Like they're trying to get the most money that they can. And to me, that really felt like it was just, again, I'm going to touch on it, the pricing out the local fans, the ones that have been there
someone's put that
from
in the
the
chat.
very beginning. You know, like when, like, look at the times when we had Randy Lerner and it was a sinking ship. It was a sinking ship. It was going down. It was going down. It was going down. Tony Exia came in. We thought he was the savior. No, we nearly went into administration with him. And the fans stood by, stood by, stood by. And then came our owners, Narrative and Edens. They brought it, and they brought joy back to us, and we were going to games, and everything else. And now the reward is more hospitality, overpriced season tickets, and now rumor has it that it's going to be 80 quid a pop for a ticket for a Champions League game, and supposedly it's going to be like, I think nearly £60 for a ticket in the Premier League. For if you're a member like myself, which don't get me wrong, I pick and choose my games. That's great. So it's probably not going to cost me as much. But I generally like to go to 5 or 6 games a year. So I've probably gone from £200 to nearly £300+ to just
Mm,
go see Villa. And that's before I even touch my flights and accommodation and everything else. It just feels like the local fan, in my opinion, has been priced out because they want to do all this hospitality, they want to do all these advertisements, and of course, yes, they want to bring in international fans, obviously, like myself, who's living abroad. But you shouldn't have to put it that high. I get there's courses, things with financial fair play and everything else, and you want to try and bring as much profits as you can, but you've got to be reasonable. You
yeah,
have
it's
to be
it's a
reasonable here.
balance. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yes,
balance.
there's going to be
Yeah.
price interest or price increase because of inflation. Naturally happens. No one's got a problem with it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. But it was a steep rise. It was a very steep rise.
Mm. I think also the issue is communication, and this is what people on X. And you can never always get it right, and you can never please everyone, and sometimes it's difficult. Just if you just look at that and not necessarily everything else, then you can get a bit of a tunnel vision view. But I do think parts of the communication have just been a kind of, well, this is what we're doing, take it or leave it, and then we'll just communicate it afterwards, rather than the consultation with people and sort of bringing people around to the idea and selling the idea a little bit more. And there's been bits of information and kind of half truths about certain things, but not necessarily the full truth. And I think that's the problem. I do, before I go to some of the comments, I do want to shout out Luke Sever, who's become a YouTube member. Thank you so much, mate. You are now an official Villa Park Pod follower, so everyone in the chat is welcoming him, which is
Welcome to the family,
great
Luke.
as
Welcome
well.
to the family.
Good man, good man. But Michael says they're the top price ticket if you pay it off without the instalment is around £53 per game for a
Oh,
full paying
jeez.
adult. So, like
Thanks,
you said
Michael.
there, the £60 a ticket for a normal ticket, like just for the one-off game, is actually going to be true, because the point in the season ticket is you kind of get a couple of games, you know, included in the package, free if you like, so you're getting money off each ticket. So yeah, it's gonna be really expensive. CH said local fans are being priced out. Seems to be happening all over the Premier League. Total shame. Will affect the atmosphere.
Big time.
Owen said, how much does it cost to host a game? Wages of staff, players, bills, police have all gone up. We want better players. It has to cost more. Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that,
We
and it's
do
a
agree.
balance. It is
Oh,
a
yeah, we
balance.
do agree with
Yeah,
it, but it shouldn't have to be that steep of a rise to make it
yeah.
happen.
Alex says he used to work at the box suites for the Miami Dolphins, and Chris Heck is following the same model. Eventually, you can control ticket prices once the corporate hospitality has been maximised. So hopefully that is the case.
Yeah, but there should have been
AVFC, what?
communication for that.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Exactly. Tell people that there's a potential that this might happen, but yeah, I agree. AVFC, what's he said? Really enjoying this fans forum tonight, guys. Legend, mate. Thank you very much. John said, I would love a season ticket, but I couldn't afford those prices. When you add up all the other expenses along with it, it's a shame. But when demand is so high, they can get away with charging such high prices.
very
And
true.
Lucas said he paid the Lucas said he pays the £640. So absolutely fair play to you, mate.
Yeah, if you got that one, fair play.
Take my hat
Where are
off.
you
Yeah,
sitting though, Luca? If you don't mind us asking, so you can kind of work out what area people are sitting in. Please put it in.
yeah, yeah. More comments in. Michael said members will feel the price changes. Tickets last season were around £65 per game.
I
Lucas
think that
just
was for
joined, said,
the category A
yes, yeah, you
game.
sometimes can get a slightly cheap. Luke said, love this pod for a long time and I'm still broke, but they make my drive to work so much better. I had to. Top man, mate. We
Love to
massively
hear it.
appreciate anyone who
Love to hear it.
contributes, and we don't do it for that. We just do it because we love talking about the Villa. But yeah, like I said, I think most people have feeling the same as us. You've got to move with the times, and you've got to go forwards, and you've got to push on. But I think communication needs to be better, and I think there has to be some sort of. It's so difficult. I can't put my finger on how they should have done it, but I feel like when they said it was 5%, that to me, I need to look into it a little bit more of what the prices were last season.
Yeah.
But that to me doesn't seem like 5%
No.
rise. That seems a
Luca,
lot more
yeah.
than
Luca here
5%.
is in L3 Lower Holt.
Okay, well that was that category one. That's not bad.
Mm,
I'd say that's not too bad.
yeah.
But yeah,
Fair play.
hopefully we
The
have a
Lower Holt
hopefully
for
we have a
640
great
pounds is a season
season.
ticket.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we have a great season, and all that is forgotten. Just to finish up, and if anyone has more comments and stuff, we'll try and get through as many as we can. Make sure you smash the like button as well, people. We've got nearly 350 people watching, which is just incredible. Like 10 o'clock at night
Unbelievable.
as well, which is just amazing stuff. So if you haven't already, smash the like button, please. It'd be great to get some more likes on the chat, and also hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Help us to push on to 5,000 subscribers. It would be amazing to do it before the season starts. That would be brilliant. So last night I was at the game, England against Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was 3-0 to England, and a bit of a mixed bag, I'd say, for the Villa players who played the match. Both
Mm,
started, Ezri Konsa and Ollie Watkins. And Ollie Watkins, I think, had a very frustrating night. It did have one opportunity that the goalkeeper saved. I think we'll talk about Ollie Watkins first. I feel like he gets a bit of a raw deal, because he generally he's started the last couple of games, one against Brazil, one against Bosnia. And as we know in international football, when the game starts, it's quite tight. The teams defend quite deep, they're very organised. There's not a lot of space at all within the game.
mm.
And Ollie tends to suffer from that. And he thrives on spaces down the channels. And he's just not going to get that in these type of games. Bosnia really put in a shift for the first 60, 70 minutes. And it was, and also in front of Ollie, the likes of Cole Palmer, Jared Bowen, Eberici Eze, Trent in that midfield position, it just didn't work. Like, they couldn't get the ball, they were giving it away. And then when the game changes slightly in the 70th minute, there's all of a sudden way more space. There's more flair. There's more kind of movement that would have suited Ollie Watkins to a T. Obviously, there's more that he can do to his game, in terms of coming for the ball, showing for the ball, doing a little bit more. But I do kind of feel a bit sorry for him with England. And then he obviously gets the criticism and, he's not, is he good enough for England and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, what do you make of Ollie Watkins in an England shirt?
From a Villa perspective, of course, for obvious reasons. Not even going to say it, obvious reason. My accent alone should give it away. That you can understand the frustration, right? Because us as Villa fans understand the frustration that sometimes he probably doesn't get the service that he gets, and what England tried to do. Now, I didn't watch the game because, again, for obvious reasons, but England fans, I would ask, is to be patient with Watkins, because for how many years we were patient with him as a whole, and then once he got firing, he got his reward getting called up for England. I do think he's on the plane for the Euros. I do, just because of the season he's had alone. There probably is a frustration that he didn't get a goal or whatever, but they're the type of games to get your rustiness out of the way, though. Because if you go into, the Euros off flying and everything else, and everything's going perfect, if plays in your head, great, grand, we're going to breeze through these, and then all of a sudden you're done because you're playing against better quality oppositions in the Euros. But if you get your rustiness out of the way, get whatever it is out of the way in the friendlies, and then you're sharp and you're ready to go, it will work out better for you. And I think Watkins, if he gets maybe a goal, just one goal in Euros, could boost his confidence completely, because we've seen it before with Ollie when he goes on this dry spell of not getting a goal, but once he gets one, it's like he can't stop doing it. It's a bit 50-50 with him. Once he stops scoring, that's it. He just stops scoring. But once he gets one, he can't stop scoring. So he's always back and forth. There is no medium with Ollie Watkins. He's either well up here and you praise him, or he's well down there and you're absolutely giving him dog's abuse. So you've got to be patient with Ollie Watkins, is what I say.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, from being at the game, I thought he was trying to make the runs. He was trying to make little runs down the sides. And Rachel makes a good point. He always seems to play against teams that defend with three centre backs or five across the back, and with lineups in terms of the England sense that are
Yeah, it's not getting the
experimental.
best
So
use out of him. It's
it's
not getting
a
the best use out
difficult
of him.
one. It's a really difficult one. More comments coming in. Obviously, Watkins says that Watkins likes to play off the shoulder, quite one-dimensional against three defenders. That is difficult to play that way. Kane pulls defenders around, drops deeper, makes clever runs, more well-rounded. Yeah, obviously, Kane makes a massive difference. I actually, in tournament football, don't like it when Harry Kane drops really deep, particularly because we don't get any runners beyond him. But that's a different story. Owen said Ollie is in that squad for his support play alone, but the one striker system that's deployed will work. As Martin says, with playing time. Once he has adapted to the preferred style, he became unplayable. Yeah, exactly. Luke said Ollie had zero service in the game and was marked by three monsters from Space Jam.
Oh,
Peter said
jeez.
Ollie's great, but not great enough to be the focal player and the offense, so he gets no service. CH said it's good experience for Ollie, but he thinks McGinn could really use the rest. I didn't watch the Scotland game. Michael said, I just think England doesn't suit Watkins, and Luca agrees. Don't think the system helps him for England. And he said again, Watkins doesn't suit England's style. But I think
wish Ireland had this problem. I wish Ireland had this
yeah,
problem.
but I do make you right. I do think a goal, whether he comes on in the final game on Friday. One, I do think he's on the plane, because
Yeah,
I think it was telling that Harry Kane came on last night instead of Ivan Toney, and there's talk that Kane is going to start on Friday, so that would indicate to me that Ivan Toney isn't potentially high enough up on the list. Otherwise, he would have played yesterday.
yeah.
If obviously Toney starts on Friday, then that's a different quandary
Conversation.
altogether.
Yeah.
But the indication is that Harry Kane's going to start, so that'll be interesting. And then if Ollie Watkins comes on for the last 20 minutes, then we know that Watkins is the backup. And also, Southgate is going to see them in Southgate and the squad and the coach staff are going to see them in training every single day. So at this stage of at this stage, it's minutes in the legs for them in the matches, but it's more what they see in training, in my opinion, as to who's looking sharp, who's looking like they fit the bill, who's going to be a backup, etc., etc. So that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. So yeah, I do think Ollie makes it. I do make it right, and I do think a goal will really help him to find his place again in the squad. You could see he was a bit frustrated at the end when they were clapping and going around the pitch and stuff. You could see he was frustrated because he just wasn't getting the ball, and it would be really nice to see him, play with Grealish on the left and even
Mm,
playing with Harry Kane in the side, like just trying that because when he was isolated, like
someone to
Eze
get him on
kept
the
giving the
ball.
ball away. Cole Palmer wasn't great in the first half. Jared Bowen hardly had any touches, and it was just so disjointed. So
Mm.
be really interesting to see that
But that
him
can happen
playing
with
with
experimental teams, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. Now, another player who is from Aston Villa who did really well with the experimental 11. Played in three different positions, no less, Martin. Started off as the right back, then moved to left back, and then moved to the right sided centre back position. And in my opinion, was the man of the match comfortably, was Ezri Konsa. Now, this guy just takes it all in his stride. Whatever system he's asked to play in, whatever position he's asked to play in, whoever he's asked to mark, he was putting crosses in with his left foot. He had a couple of shots. He was putting tackles in. I mean, this guy is 100% on the plane, in my opinion.
If he's not on the plane, I'm writing, and I'm an Irish fan because he should be there. He should be. He has to start ahead of Harry Maguire. And if I'm an England fan and I'm seeing Harry Maguire in the starting lineup for the Euros, you'd lose it. Like Harry Maguire has barely played all year, and here's Ezri Konsa putting in the man of the match performance, playing left back, centre back, right back. The man could play anywhere in the back line.
Yeah,
This will allow certain players that, say, like a Trent, for example, to go into midfield because he's got Konsa. This will allow now. It opens up so many doors by putting up Konsa in the team. It really does. And I think he deserves it. He just deserves it because look at the type of player he is. He's physical. His ball distribution's incredible. You know, the way he just calms things down when he gets the ball. Sometimes he might just stop it for a second, slow the game down when it's going 100 mile an hour, and he just looks and goes, right, let's relax here for a second. And the way he plays it through the line as well, it's incredible. He gets it straight into midfield as quick as he possibly can. And he's composed on one-on-one situations. Do you ever see that at some time where he's just, when he comes up against an attacking player, he's so composed. He doesn't jump in, he doesn't hesitate. He's composed, he waits, and then boom, he's got you. Like that's why he's barely been dribbled past. I don't remember the last time Konsa got beaten in a dribble.
yeah. No, he was brilliant. I mean, his stats that last night: 90 minutes played. He obviously contributed to the clean sheet because he played the 90 minutes. 95% passing accuracy. He won the penalty as well, and he played in three positions: right back, left back, and centre back during the match. Yeah, it was just a tremendous performance. But it's not just that; he played brilliantly in the last games when he came into the squad first of all. And there
Mm.
are some players who take a while to get picked for the England setup, but once they go into it, and it tends to be more the defenders that tend to be
Yeah.
more comfortable to it, but they just become accustomed to the international setup. Maybe it's they've got slightly more time. Maybe it's the pace of the pace of the game is slightly different up and down, and they can read it a bit better. But yeah, he seems to have taken to international football like a duck to water, and obviously he's also come through the England ranks as well. Southgate obviously knows him from the under
Mm.
21 days. So for me, I think Konsa is a shoe in for the playing. I think that Adam Wharton's probably put an idea into Southgate's head as whether he goes, because he was fantastic when he came
But
on,
is
and
he
he's
too
a
soon?
real
But is
wild
he too
card.
soon?
That's the question. So I
And
think
this is
I don't.
Southgate we're talking about. Like, I
Yeah,
don't get me
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Exactly,
From the
exactly.
outside looking in, when you look at players like an Adam Wharton, Tamori, who should be in that squad, I think
I don't
you've
think.
got,
Yeah, I don't think is Tamori in this 33. Is
No,
he
he's
or
not.
not?
He wasn't even
No,
included in
okay.
the provisional.
Yeah,
No,
well, he
he
should
should
be
have
in for
been.
me instead of Lewis Dunk, but it is what it is. I don't. But to me, in terms of the players, he's got 33. He's got to whittle it down to 26. I don't think Luke Shaw makes it. I don't think Luke Shaw makes it to be fit in time. I
I
think there's question
I have
marks
a funny
over.
feeling he's going to bring Luke Shaw. I have a funny feeling he's going to bring Luke
I
Shaw.
just don't think he'll be fit enough. But anyway, this is what I think. I think
Is
there's
Colwell in the
question
team?
marks. Is who?
Colwell, Levi Colwell. Is he in the team?
He's in the 33. I don't think he makes it. James Trafford, I don't think makes it.
Hmm.
And who else was I going to say? I don't think Branthwaite. It's out of Branthwaite and Dunk. And then, but I think there's question marks over some players' fitness. I think there's Maguire, there's
Yeah.
Mainu, and there's Gordon, who could like one or two of them could still be injured. You know, I don't know if Maguire's fit enough. I think maybe even John Stones as well. Like there's question marks over fitness of 3 or 4 players. Then you've got maybe I don't think Eze did enough for me to get in. I don't think Eze goes.
He still has
So
next
I
Friday.
yeah, I think there's question mark. I think Trafford definitely not. I think Colwell not. I think
Yeah.
one of Branthwaite or Dunk not. And then I think Luke Shaw won't make it. But you're debating that. I don't think he will. So I think there's 4 players that don't make it, and then there's 3. I think that there's real question marks over. Obviously the
Mm,
Watkins Tony debate, or does he take all 3? There's
yeah.
potentially a question mark over James Maddison for me, and there's
What about
the
Kobe Manu?
yeah, the injury.
Yeah.
I don't know if
When
he's
when
going
is
to be
the when
fit.
is the deadline to have your provisional or your full
So
26?
the squad will have to be ratified by the FA an hour after the game on Friday. So I think they will know the squad before the game, like the players will. The squad has to be ratified by 11 p.m. on Friday, but we won't. Apparently, it won't be leaked to the press or won't be announced to the press until 10 a.m. on Saturday, this coming
Right.
Saturday. But I think Wharton possibly goes instead of Mainu. If there's a
I've
question
just
mark over Mainu, I think
uh,
Wharton goes.
I've just realised this is how you know Ireland didn't make the Euros when I'm asking when's the deadline due for certain teams.
Well, look, mate, you've always got the World Cup to think about. You never know. You
Yeah, the
never know.
Rugby World Cup. The Rugby
Yeah.
World Cup. You
But
really
yeah,
think we're making Rich? No, come on, that's a good one, mate. Thanks,
no, I
lad.
was just playing with you. But yeah, but no, it's gonna be interesting seeing what happens with the squad. But I do think Ollie, like you said, I make you bang on, I make you dead right. He needs a goal just to take the pressure off him a little bit.
Yeah,
I think
it's just to get the
I think there's
confidence level
players
back
there
up.
that are overthinking it. I think Jared Bowen was the same. He even admitted it in his interview. I think Watkins is doing the same thing. And yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 players that are really kind of overthinking it. Konsa, on the other hand, he's just taking it all in his stride, and he's playing with a freedom, and he's doing fantastically well. So for me, Konsa goes, and I do think Ollie Watkins makes it as well. I don't think
Yeah,
he'll play much, but I think it'd be a great experience for him, and I think he does deserve it. I think that's a night for us. I think that's a wrap, mate. I mean, 350 people in the chat, Martin. What you got to say about that, mate?
I'll say this, right? And for those that have been there with us in the very beginning, when it was black and white TV, that we only had about 10 people watching. 10. And I love those 10 people watching when they've been here from the beginning. And I still love all the 350 people here that are watching too. I will never stop loving this podcast. I will never stop talking absolute scutter about Aston Villa. This,
Exactly. That's what it's about.
like, for those that were here in the beginning in black and white TV, probably remember, excuse me, my first channel when I was on my phone, on my bedside. Didn't even think I was going to be on the channel and be like, oh, when you've got the press, you've got the press. That was my first one. If you
Yeah,
remember that,
nice.
hats off to you and to where we are now. And you see all them beers. If any of you 350 people ever want to come here and drink some of this whiskey, which my dad will gladly, hopefully, let us touch. please God, we will drink all of them, my friends. But you know what? Absolutely, it's unbelievable how far we've come, and this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. So please, all 350 of you, if you can, leave a like, leave a comment, where you're from, how you're feeling, what is your how you feeling for England in the Euros, if that's who you support, or if you're Scottish, how are you feeling in the Euros? Wherever you're from and your team's in the Euros, how are you feeling? You know, absolutely. Put in a comment, put in a like. We do have a WhatsApp channel as well. I
Oh
think the
yes,
link should
give
be
that a
here.
shout out. Yeah.
Do follow that as well, where we just literally bring all the channels straight to your phone, transfer rumors, whatever it is, straight to your phone. It's what a time to be an Aston
Yeah.
Villa fan and to be a follower of the Villa Park podcast.
Exactly. Top man, Martin. Top man. Great to have you on, mate. Yeah, great to have everyone in. Yes, do check out our WhatsApp channel. Just search Villa Park Pod on the community, on the, is it what they're called, channels, on the channels on WhatsApp. Just search Villa Park Pod, join the channel, and get updates on the latest news, competitions, etc. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll be back with plenty more transfer talk shows. Also hoping to get interview with Tom Colomasi from the Daily Mail this week, so please look out for that on the channel. Thank you everyone for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.